Hello, good afternoon, and it's currently about 1 o'clock in the UK, so I should say good afternoon, but if you are watching this in somewhere else in the world, it should probably be a good morning or a good evening. Never know how to give a polite and quick intro to these, but here we are. Welcome to another Chatbot Deep Dive live stream. So if you're new to the live streams, basically a Chatbot Deep Dive live stream is where we look at a specific chatbot feature and we talk through the different use cases, how you can set it up within ubisend, and it's kind of a little bit of the theory behind it as well when applicable. So what this kind of means is, as I'm going to basically be showing you off the different features, you're going to be able to either follow along at home, kind of create your own chatbots using the features that I'm discussing, or gain some inspiration for any chatbot builds that you are working on for either yourselves or say your clients. Now, as you also know, if you were attending last week's live stream, we looked at message types, and the message type, just a little recap here, is a message type is essentially the message that the chatbot sends. So if I just scroll down to say something like image, as you can see here, this is where I then select an image to fill this space. So that's the message type. Today we're going to follow on with message types with the natural successor, which is the composer. So rather than say the message type being the actual message the chatbot sends, the composer is the field in which the user can reply back to the chatbot. So if I just jump into the demo section, as you can see here, we've got start your conversation, and I can kind of start typing here. I can just put a load of gobbledygook. This is the composer. So at the moment, this is just kind of quite a basic composer where users can just kind of send messages in the natural, kind of the most typical form of engaging with a chatbot. But what I'm going to show you is actually the different types of composers, their different use cases, and how you can implement them on your chatbot builds. As always as well, this is a live stream, so feel free if you're watching live to put a few questions down in the comments, and I'll be sure to either answer them during the stream or I will get back to you once the stream is over. I am kind of looking after the chat comments myself while doing the live stream, so I do apologise if I miss any. And of course as well, if you're watching this on demand, just feel free to throw any comments that you have in the comment section, and we're going to be able to get back to you and reply. Easy peasy. And of course as well, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these live streams. One happens every week and you don't want to be able to miss out or be late to the viewing, so you kind of get a notification once we're going live if you are subscribed, depending upon your notification settings that is. And of course as well, we've got a huge amount of different content on the channel, all kind of discussing either say chatbot how-tos or the theories behind chatbots, different kind of chatbot build inspiration, different ways you can generate leads with chatbots, customer service tips. There's an absolute mountain of content on the channel, so be sure to check that out and smash subscribe. Anyways, let's kind of talk about today's episode, which is the different chatbot composers. As I mentioned, I've already kind of gone through a little bit of the old chatbot composers, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump into an example conversation which I've set up, which is one that you can see here. Basically, this conversation is going to begin whenever anyone types, show me the composer. Obviously, that's just a little trigger for me just doing the live stream. Normally this would trigger when somebody say asks an FAQ such as, what are your opening times? And then this conversation is going to trigger in a kind of real world example. And here we've got just an example message. So this is the ubisend conversation builder, going to be revamped very shortly, but for the time being, this is the beautiful conversation builder that we have. I'm very excited to show you off the new features when they do come in, so that's why I mentioned it then. But so as you can see, and I've just got an example message. So this is the first thing that you see when you start a new conversation. If I go ahead and click options here, and I'm going to come down into message content, and this is where you kind of customize what the chatbot says. So you can say, we are open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Obviously this is terribly written and not at all grammatically correct there, so you'd normally spend a little bit longer on that message. As you can see, this is kind of where you choose what the chatbot says to kind of guide users throughout their conversation. Okay, so and today, as mentioned, we're doing composers. So basically this means I'm going to be doing a lot of jumping back and forth in between the demos, in between the demo section and the message content here, so I can kind of show you the different composers. Message, I assume that you don't need me to show you what a message composer looks like, because that is essentially, as I was just kind of showing off here, just a little bit of typing along those lines. What I'll quickly do here as well is I'll just reset our demo chatbot, just so it's kind of back up to the start. So as you can see, I can type a few different messages. If I go ahead and just put show me the composer there, it's going to trigger the message that we have just been typing, which is we're open Monday to Friday, with the option for me to go ahead and just type a message. So very typical, I'm sure we've already used one of these before, basic chatbot composer. I think the best way for me to do this is essentially going to be working my way down through all the different options that you can see here, and also you might be able to see as well at the bottom we've got some custom composers, which I'm going to come to towards the end of the video, so make sure you stick around for that, because that's when things get really exciting. But we'll just kind of run through them all. I run through most of them quite quickly, as I'm sure but the name suggests you can kind of see and guess what the vast majority of them do, but it is always nice to see it in action, kind of talk about a few different use cases. So feedback itself is a very simple composer, very similar to the standard message type. The kind of use cases for this is naturally when you want a user to actually supply feedback. And I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of quickly throw this in and throw in an example so you can kind of see it in the real world. So imagine if you are using the feedback composer, it's normally going to be when you say asking for any advice or any tips. So you can say, let's just go along with, got any improvements we could make to our checkout page? And so this is kind of in a sales or customer service example, just a little question. Maybe if you're thinking about doing a new website redesign, you just want to have this pop up at a certain time. So what I'll do is I'll just jump over onto this, reset the chatbot. I have a feeling I'm going to be resetting the chatbot a lot due to the natures of showing off different composers. So that's always going to be fun. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, show me the composer. Now the chatbot's going to say, got any improvements we can make to our checkout page? And as you can see here, previously it was send a message, but now we've got the option to explain our feedback or explain your feedback. So the chatbot's already automatically prompting for a bit of feedback, which is always nice in the copy there. And I can go ahead and say, I think that the checkout page needs more pictures of dogs and cats. And then I'm going to be able to go and press send. And one other slight thing that the feedback composer does do is obviously, I suppose the best way for me to show you this is I'll jump back into a different composer afterwards. But as you can see here, I am currently pressing enter and it is essentially entering down for me, so I can start a new paragraph quite nicely. That's because we understand that the user itself, when they are providing feedback, it's likely that they're not going to be providing this kind of very brief little bit of feedback that I've given there. They're going to be providing a lot of in-depth. It might be, say, to do with if you're asking for feedback on their customer service or live chat experience, they might want to give quite an in-depth answer. So the reason that we've made it so normally, if you press enter, it will send the message automatically. So someone can, this is basically for when people are sending short form messages, which is the most common way that people engage with chatbots. Such as quick questions, how do I do this? I want to do this, show me the shoes, show me your nice cars, and then they'll press enter and it will instantly send the message. Whereas with the feedback, we understand that people are going to be likely to send a lot more long form responses. So when they press enter, it makes it easier for them to be able to start typing with a full paragraph there. So they can actually add lots more information, and again, it makes it, for a business's point of view, easier for you to understand the feedback that's coming through. It's all nicely formatted. It's not going to be one massive long bulk of text, which it would be if you were using a different composer. So here we go, and we can do that. And then to send the message, I just quite simply just press enter there. And not press enter, sorry, I click the actual send message button. So it doesn't actually get in the way of actually using anything. And obviously as well, the chatbot didn't understand the fact that I think the checkout page needs more cats and dogs, because if we look at the conversation, I haven't actually kind of told it anywhere to go from this step. Anyway, so that's the kind of feedback composer. It's essentially just very similar to the send message, but it gives the users a little bit more kind of formatting options, which is great for when they're sending long form messages. Of course, as well, you could always use the feedback composer for different types of messages as well. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the message and go through a different composer type. So this one's going to be the loading composer. So the loading composer is obviously quite simple, and I think the best way that actually I'm going to show this is by using an example to kind of show off how you can use the loading composer. So let's go along the lines of, would you like to speak to a live chat agent? And we'll click save, and we'll change this composer to just normal message, and then they'll click save. What we'll do is we'll assume that they're going to say yes at this next step, just purely for the sake of example. So yes, speak to live chat, just creating a new message step here, and that will all do for the time being. And then we can just go along the lines of, okay, I can't type at all today. Someone's on their way. Click save. And obviously as well, just if you have seen the live streams, I always forget to turn this off. We have the option to either do it in English or Dutch. ubisend supports over 60 languages, I believe. I've got Dutch active on my account, so I'm just kind of putting in this for the time being. Obviously at the moment we're speaking to the chatbot in English, so it's not going to translate over into the Dutch version at all. So that's just kind of me just forgetting to turn something off before the live stream, which is always fun. Okay, so basically what's going to say here is we're going to say, okay, someone's on their way. And then when the user's waiting to engage with live chat, with the live chat agent, we're going to change their composer type to loading, and I'll show you what this kind of does for the user. Okay, so let's jump back in. Quickly reset the chatbot conversation here. I'm going to get very bored of resetting the chatbot conversation while doing all of this testing. We're going to say to the chatbot, show me the composer. The chatbot's going to say, would you like to speak to a live chat agent? We're going to say yes. And then it's going to say, okay, someone's on their way. And then here, as you can see, it's been updated to say loading, please wait. And it actually blocks me out of typing. So I don't know if my microphone's picking up the noise of me typing on the keyboard. but this essentially stops the users from kind of engaging with the chatbot again, and it makes sure that they're just definitely waiting for when the actual user, for the live chat agent. Keeps things nice and simple. Other few nice use cases of the loading composer is obviously if you say have any incredibly kind of complex integrations or anything along the lines of that, which I'm just trying to think of a nice example here with phrasing this properly. So imagine if, say, the different integrations that you have in place are something to do with a time-based situation. So let's say a flash sale is happening and you have an integration with your product systems, and you're like, okay, well, we only want to show them the different products at 12 o'clock. As soon as it hits 12 p.m, we're going to release all of our new products on our chatbot. You might have users waiting to engage with the chatbot, excited to take part in the flash sale. You can have a little message here that says, you know, wait till 12 o'clock with the loading composer, and then that's going to block them out of talking, and it's going to make sure that everything's good and keeps the excitement going. Okay, so also whilst I've just shown that example as well, okay, so as you can see, I've used the loading composer, but what a nice combination you can do with the composer here is actually combine it with a message type that we touched on in the last live stream, which is, if I can find it, where has it gone? The progress composer. So as you can see, this is basically the exact message that I typed, which is, okay, someone's on their way, but it has the 3 little dots there to make sure that they know that the chatbot's still in action and we are just waiting for a live chat agent. So if I just kind of use this combination of the two, so I'll just save this step, and we're just going to run through this exact conversation again. But this is a nice example of how you can use different message types and different composer types to keep the user informed and just kind of make the actual experience of using the chatbot just that little bit nicer. So yes, we want to speak to a live chat agent. As you can see, we've now got a little constantly, I want to say a GIF or like a constantly flashing icon there to let them know the chatbot's still working and they are just waiting on a live chat agent. And if they do try and engage the chatbot while waiting, the chatbot composer isn't going to let them there, which is the good part of using the loading composer. Obviously as well, you can always have a few different options to make sure that if someone is, say, waiting on live chat, you can kind of obviously cancel live chat and put them back in the conversation. The loading composer would go away so that they can continue engaging with the chatbot. It's not a kind of completely block out of using the chatbot kind of situation. Okay, so that is our kind of live chat example there. So I think what we'll do is we'll just close this. Not our live chat example, sorry, that is our loading composer example. So what I think I'll do is I'm going to move straight on to the banner, and the banner, I suppose I should probably show you the banner. Very simple. If you first start talking to a chatbot, I think the best way to do this is just going to show you the ubisend chatbot on our website. So if I just jump into ubisend here, and here we're in the bottom right, which is exactly where my face is, of course. So let me just quickly move my face off onto the other side of the screen there. But yep, and I'm going to be able to click on our chatbot that we have on our website. And here you've got this banner that comes up. So this is essentially the first thing that user sees before talking to the chatbot. And here we've got start your conversation. So this is I'll just quickly show you, the banner composer that I've just been discussing inside the platform. This is it kind of in the wild, in like a typical situation. And it just says start your conversation. And it's a really nice way of kind of following on for the initial banner that tells the users why are they talking to the chatbot, what is the chatbot's purpose. Okay, perfect, here we are. And now you can start your conversation. If I click on that, that goes away. And as you can see, and here's the actual conversation that I've been having with our chatbot before. So it's kind of a brief kind of little, nearly sneezed then. I managed to hold it in for everyone, just in case you are listening with headphones. You never want to hear someone sneeze when you're listening in with headphones. But yeah, so the banner composer is a great way just to kind of, once users have engaged with your chatbot and they're about to start using it, just kind of gently eases them into engaging with the chatbot through a subtle little start your conversation message. So quite a simple composer there, but it has its place and it does its job very well. Next is going to be the date and time composers. I'm going to show you these all pretty much in one go because they are quite similar. And yep, as the name suggests, it is to do with date and time. So if I just change this to date and time, and I'll put, when would you like to book a meeting? So date time, this is absolutely great in, say, a sales or lead generation kind of example for actually booking meetings via the chatbot. So I'll quickly click save. And then I'm going to jump into the demo conversation and I will reset the chatbot again. And next to there, click show me the composer. And here the chatbot's going to say, when would you like to book a meeting? As you can see, you've got click to choose a date and time. I'm going to be able to click, and here I'm going to be able to go through and say, choose, I actually want it to be on the 23rd of September there, and I want this to happen at about, I'd say 6 o'clock, let's say 6:30 in the afternoon. So a bit annoying for the sales rep there that I'm booking an evening meeting with them. Obviously, you're going to be able to put things in place from your side of things that stop people doing that. But obviously, for the time being, we've just gone with this, and I'm able to kind of use this quite nice. It's a really nice little clock and like interface here for people choosing the time. It works really well on mobile as well. And as well, I'm just able to quickly jump back and forth whether I want to choose between the dates. I can obviously choose, I mean, we've all used a kind of date picker and time picker before, so I don't need to go into too much depth. Another nice thing about using the date and time picker here is when you send the message to the chatbot, you can see here it's kind of pre-formatted and making sure that the data or the message that's being sent to the chatbot always follows the same format. So it'll always be date hyphen month hyphen year and then with a space and then the exact time. This is absolutely great for integrations because it's going to make sure that everything that your chatbot sends is always uniform. You're not going to have people saying, when would you like to book a meeting? And they're going to type, someone's going to type Monday the 31st of December in full English, and then you have someone else that types like Mon 31st Dec or something along those lines. And so just kind of shortening it, it kind of completely removes all of those issues. So nice, another nice use for the date time composer there. And as well, obviously, with the different kind of composers, you have the option to just choose date, so they can just pick a specific date, or just choose a time, so they can say 7:30 in the evening, 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever was best for your business. Okay, so those are the date time composers. Oh, I'm talking very quick, and I'm in desperate need of some water. I'm just going to quickly move my face back onto the other side over here. I kind of prefer it being in this corner for some reason. And now we're going to discuss the I think we'll move on to the authentication composer here. So essentially, an authentication composer, or an auth composer for short, I always feel like I pronounce those words wrong for some reason, I'm never too sure why. That is essentially the way that, I can't talk for some reason. It's basically a way of making sure that the users are inputting, say, different things for API keys. So if I just click save here, so I'll just put an example message for the purpose of this, just so you can kind of see the auth composer in action. Jump back over, reset the chatbot for the 100th time so far today, and say show me the composer. And as you can see, the authentication, it's asking me for an email address, and it won't, I believe, so it'll let me kind of say type out my email address, so I can kind of go with example.com. And this is a really nice way for, say, if you've got something along the lines of say, password resets or anything, or you say you might want to be users looking for, say, product in a customer service example. They might have, say, like their product hasn't arrived, or they want to check their order status. You're going to want them to give an email address so that they can kind of relate the product to that user. You're going to just be able to put this in and make sure that they're saying what is your email. And it's going to work quite nicely as well because, and here, once you've sent your email address, obviously I just sent a quick little one there. It's also going to ask what the password is so that I can go along with different elements. Okay, so that's the, literally for some reason, this last 5 minutes or so, I've completely forgotten how to talk. That's the authentication composer. Up next we have the deactivated composer. So the deactivated composer is quite simple. Let's go along, and I think the best way to show you this is actually show it with different message types in action. So let's go along the lines of, I think this works quite nicely in a sales environment. So let's go along the lines of, are you interested in, we'll go with something a little bit close to home, because obviously ubisend, we have direct sales. We sell directly to businesses that are interested in using the platform to solve their own challenges, and we also as well have a partner network, so we help particularly marketing agencies, or say often just consultants, or say software platforms. They will partner with ubisend to be able to offer chatbots to their clients. So we have those kind of two different areas of the business. So let's imagine we're trying to create a chatbot conversation where we want to quickly narrow down at the start of the conversation, are they looking for a chatbot for their own business, or are they looking to resell chatbots? So we can say, are you interested in reselling chatbots, or one for your own business? Put a little question mark there, and what we'll do is we'll change this to a quick reply, and I will just quickly add in reselling chatbots, chatbots for my business. So, and then I'll add another button here, which is chatbots for my business. Okay, so here we've got the two different options, and we'll just quickly do the little post back here, which is reselling chatbots, and then again, chatbots for my business. If you're not 100% on what the second field, so as you can see, the top field here of the button, of the quick reply button, has appeared up here in the top, and then the same for this, the top field here has appeared up here. So I covered this in the last live stream. Once I finish hosting this one, I'll be sure to leave a link to it within the description of this video on the different message types. So this is the message type in the top right, where we kind of cover what the postbacks are and why I've written reselling _ chatbots here. Because what that actually means is when the reselling underscore chatbots is essentially a signpost that tells the chatbot where to take the user after this. So all the user sees is reselling chatbots. You type reselling underscore chatbots, and then later on in the conversation you'll say when a message equals reselling underscore chatbots, take the user there. So once the user clicks reselling chatbots, it's going to move them down to the correct part of the conversation while still looking nice for the user, and at the same time for you being really easy to manage internally. So that's kind of what the postback is, but we covered that in a lot more depth and a much nicer explanation, because you can kind of see me talking through a couple examples in action in the previous live stream. I'll leave the link in the video. I'll leave a link in the description, so be sure to check it out. So as you can see here, we've got the two different kind of options for that we want the user to press, and we're going to use the deactivated composer. What that means is when a user, the deactivated composer, quite frankly and simply, I will show you on the screen an example. It deactivates the composer. As the name suggests, a very creative name, I imagine, didn't need too much explanation. So I will quickly put show me the composer. And then here, as you can see, we've got reselling chatbots, or we've got chatbots for my business. And here I've got the little grayed out icon. I actually can't engage with the composer. This is really nice if you say have a particular route that you want the user to go down. Here obviously we'd say we would want them to move on to reselling chatbots or chatbots for my business, and then we'd start serving customized content. So the FAQs that they ask, like the different questions that they ask, might have different responses to when they have kind of chosen which route that they want to go down. So we don't actually want them to start asking anything yet, because we're going to personalize the conversations depending upon the responses that they give. Another nice another similar use case to the one here, obviously not in a sales environment, but say if you have, well, I mean, it could be sales, it could be customer service, it could be HR. If you're a global brand that have either employees or chatbot users across the world, you might want them to set their language first, and you might have, say, a couple of languages that you know your chatbot can engage in. So you just replace these for, say, English or Dutch in my example, and then stop people being able to actually engage with the chatbot. So they set their language first, so that then everything that the chatbot talks to them after that is going to be in their native language. Whereas if you hadn't done that, they might have gone ahead and typed a message before they'd set their language, and that would, obviously the chatbot will still be able to kind of respond, but it wouldn't be in their native language, so it wouldn't be the best user experience. So the deactivated composer there, it's just quite nice for ensuring that you move users down the stage in their chatbot journey in the most efficient and the best way for them, and you still have a little bit of control in how they get there. Okay, so that is the deactivated composer. And then let's just scroll down. Obviously as well, we've also got the hidden composer, which I'm going to show using the exact same example. This is kind of a little bit of custom choice, but depending upon whether you want to use the deactivated or the hidden. The hidden composer serves pretty much the same exact purpose as the deactivated composer, but as you can see, the composer itself is hidden, it completely disappears. So it serves the exact same kind of situation where I'd then be able to click the buttons without kind of preventing the user from actually engaging with the chatbot before you've been able to serve their personalized content, depending upon which route that they've chosen. Okay, I'm going to need another little quick sip of some water here. Okay. So up next we have the last kind of two before I start moving on to the custom composers, and the last one there is numeric. So let's go along with numeric, and let's just quickly customize the different kind of response that we're going to be sending here. Let's kind of give this a nice example. Great example for this is, let's imagine that this is a chatbot, which is again finding a user's order number, or say for example onboarding an employee. Oh, we've already touched on user's order number, so let's go with a HR example, onboarding an employee. So this is chatbot's onboarding a new employee, and it will say like, great to meet you, and we'll go along the lines of, do you have your employee number handy? And what we'll do is we'll just add a little quick option here which says, no, I don't, and then we'll put no employee number, and click save. And then what we'll do is I'll just flesh out this example a little bit more. So then we're going to go onto this, and we're going to change this message, and it's going to, so this is going to be the message of when an employee does have their order number. So it's going to say, great, thanks, I'm just trying to think of an example of an example HR onboarding process here. It's all of a sudden it's left my mind. We'll put great, thanks, and then we'll put along the lines of, I can see you are in, let's say, are you working remotely or in the office? So this is just a little bit of a fleshing out of an employee onboarding process. And here we'll do is we'll just kind of jump onto this, and we'll add another message, which is for when a user doesn't have their they don't actually have their employee number. So again, I'll just jump into the message content, and as you can see here, it says no underscore employee number. So we'll add another message, which is no employee number. Getting a little bit carried away. I did originally plan on just showing off the composers, but I'm going to flesh out this example a little bit. So basically, when the message equals no employee number, this kind of comes back to the different signposts of the post specs that I was mentioning briefly. It's going to take them on to this step. I'm going to say, that's okay. Can I take your name, please? Question mark, and obviously as well, just fill out the Dutch with something something irrelevant for the time being, because we're not actually talking to the chatbot in Dutch. Is it Dutch? I believe it's actually German there. Sorry, I keep saying Dutch. I've said that quite a few times, but that's the German option there. Okay, so as you can see, when they say me equals no employee number, it's going to take them down into this, which is, okay, so they haven't got their employee number, but we're just going to take their name, we're going to find the employee that way. And here, if they do have their employee number, they're just going to move on. Obviously, at the moment, this is just when a message is sent, so we're just going to change this a little bit. So we're going to change this transition to the next one. Rather than when a message is sent, we're going to say when a message is a number, and click save. That should have all hopefully saved. Perfect. My internet connection is being kind to me today. I often have troubles with my internet whilst I'm doing these, but it looks like it's been okay. Alright, so we've got welcome to ubisend. Now we're going to hit up, show me the composer. So this is the Numeric Composer in action. So as you can see here, we've got great to meet you. Do you have your employee number handy? I'm going to go along with just say something like it is, press all the wrong buttons. It is 434.75. That is my employee number, 43,475, sorry. And one other nice thing about the Numeric Composer here is I can kind of go up and down with these options, which is better to say if you imagine in a sales example, how many shoes do you want to buy? I want to buy 8 pairs of shoes because I absolutely love these shoes and I'm going to have one for every day of the rest of my life. Maybe not the best example there, but yep, so then I click next, I click send, and it's going to move me down throughout the part of the conversation. But let's imagine if I actually just reset this and I again say, show me the composer. Oh, nearly quit my browser then by pressing the wrong buttons. That wouldn't have been the best. So here as well, if I imagine I don't have my employee number, so I'm trying to type messages, again this is me typing on the keyboard, which isn't a number, it completely stops the user from typing anything that isn't a number. So instead I'll click no I don't, and then the chatbot's going to take me down and it's going to ask me what my name is instead, and I'm going to be able to say Jacob, move through the conversation that way. So that's a little bit more of an in-depth example of the Numeric Composer in action, but basically essentially the kind of like the short story is that it just blocks users out from entering anything that isn't a number, and also has little buttons that they can press to be able to increment the number that they've mentioned quite simply, which is obviously nice for people on mobile, or say if you have anyone with accessibility issues, it's nice to be able to give them that extra option. Okay, perfect. So I'm flying through these different composer types today, which is always good. We'll jump back off that screen there, and I think what we'll do is we'll talk about the last composer type before we get on to the fun stuff. So that is the live chat composer. So I'm just going to change that to live chat. I'm just going to put welcome to live chat. Change this to just a standard message here. Click save. Okay, and reset the chatbot conversation for today's 7,000th time. Type show me the composer into the chatbot conversation. And it's going to say welcome to live chat, and as you can see, quite simple here, but it basically just says write a reply. So this is a subtle change between send a message and write a reply. It's just another little thing that you can put in place so that when the user knows that they're actually talking the difference between talking to a chatbot and talking to a human, where they're sending a message to a chatbot, whereas they're actually replying to a human. So it's a little subtle touch there that kind of is just a nice part of the platform of how you can change up the different composer types. It's very subtle, but at the same time, these little touches do help make things easier for users. Of course, as well, if live chat is going on, and that will be a live stream series on live chat in the near future, but if live chat is going on, it's going to have, what do you call it? So I just realised actually that we have a little button there, which is kind of over my face. So I think I'm actually going to move myself. No, I'll stay there. I'll stay there. But yep, so if you have live chat activated, sorry, it's going to change from ubibot to the name of the live chat agent, and you can also as well have a little icon there, which is a human icon, just to show the difference between a live chat agent and a human agent. Okay, so that's quite nicely covering a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Let's get on to the fun stuff, which is making a custom composer. So let's talk about these in a particular sales example. Let's say you are currently selling something along the lines of, let's try and think of something which has quite a few different options. For some reason I always go with cars. I don't know why cars are always my natural thing, but let's say, great, I can help recommend a car to you, and then we'll go add a new message just to break up the messages a little bit. What type of car are you interested in? And now this is where you're probably going to want them to say, and if I can spell interested correctly. So now you're going to want to create a custom composer in this situation, and this is going to be one where they can choose from options that you get to pick yourself. So this is again another example of ubisend essentially appealing to any niche. So to create a custom composer, all you need to do is just click this create a custom composer button, and here you're going to be taken to the custom composer screen. So as you can see, here's my custom composer that I made earlier and spelt wrong. So I'm just going to change that because it's been bugging me for ages. But yep, as you can see, here's an example, which is, this is a HR example. Actually, I might as well talk through it while I've got it up on the screen. And this is where someone will choose the role that they are working within. So are they in part of the HR department, the sales department, marketing, customer service, IT, legal, etc., etc. So all these options are available to the user to pick from. So it kind of essentially becomes a drop down, and they're able to scroll through it, which is always enjoyable. And so let's just make one kind of live. So our example is about cars, I believe. So I'll just scroll up. Let's say we'll name this custom composer, which is choose a car. And then we're going to have the placeholder message, which is going to be choose a car. So as you can see, it changes the placeholder for the user there. And there's two things that you can do with a custom composer. You can either have it as they send a message, which is essentially sending a message is just where they will be able to then type a message, and all you've done is just customize this little preview text at the top. It's quite a nice way just to kind of add a little bit of your own branding to this. Imagine if, say, you're a quirky B2C brand, you might want to throw in, rather than it saying send a message, you might want to throw something a little bit more weird, like type. You can you can tell I work for a B2B brand, not B2C there with my incredible quirky response. But and obviously as well, you can also change this, so you can either have it be numeric, which we just touched on earlier, so I'm not going to go into details about that. But then we have the fuzzy composer. So fuzzy composer is this multiple drop down that I just showed you. So here we're going to be able to change this as well. So we've got choose a car, let's go along, choose a car, and then we go add our options and we go really fast cars. And then so that's the option, and it will send, for us it might as well send the exact same thing. This is the nice thing, the label of the different drop down can actually send a different message to the chatbot, which is obviously quite nice. Say if you want to shorten it, so you actually have quite a complex product. So let's say, for example, of really fast cars, let's say you might have 4-door cars, but you actually want the message that it sends to the chatbot is going to be incredibly great 4-door cars with extra sturdy doors. So this is an example of when you might want to send a bit more of a in-depth message to the chatbot, but you also want to make it easy for the user to pick the option that actually matters to them. This is actually quite a bad example that I've gone with there. My wonderful copywriting skills never cease to amaze me. But yep, so this is just a nice example. So on the left is what the user sees, on the right is the message that they actually send to the chatbot. Let's just kind of delete that there. And we'll go really fast cars, really slow cars, first learner cars, so that's cars for people that are learning how to drive their car. And then we'll also go with, I don't know, 10-wheel cars. I don't know if 10-wheel cars exist, but if they do, our chatbot can help sort you out with the best ones. So that's kind of quite nice, obviously, as well. So this is just going to be different options that the user can pick from. I'll show you how that looks in a second. And here as well, we've got the allow selection of multiple options, which is something you can do, and also deactivate composer. So deactivate composer, that's not going to deactivate this entire composer, but if you remember when we were discussing the different composer types we talked about deactivated, it's just going to stop users from actually being able to type to the composer, like type within the composer. So deactivating this will mean they can't type, but they can just choose from these options here. So that's quite a nice way to make sure that they are just picking the exact options. I'm going to leave deactivate composer off because I want to show you how the fuzzy search actually works on this. So I'll click save. And we're going to jump back in, and we're going to use this to find our composer type. So we're just going to quickly refresh the page so that our new composer comes into play. So here, and we're going to go into the message content, and we're going to say, I can help you find a car. What type of car are you interested in? Question mark. And here we'll choose a new composer. We're going to choose the choose a car composer. Click save, and we'll jump into the demo section and reset the demo section here and say show me the composer. I can help you find a car, what type of car you're interested in. As soon as I click here, you can see the different options that I've just created a second ago, and you can see how easy it is to make these composers. It's taken me probably less than, I don't know, like 3 or 4 minutes to do so. And also as well, with the fuzzy search, imagine you have hundreds of options. So this works really well if you say have 50,000 different, say like different products, and you want the user to be able to search through every single product that you can sell. You instead let them search. So I can search, as soon as I say really, the fuzzy search is going to remove anything but fast and slow. If I just want to have learner cars, or if I want to have 10 cars, I can kind of search through. You can click enter, and then it's going to be nicely selected, and I can kind of send the different options. Because I've got multiple options selected, I might want to look at 10-wheel cars as well as really slow cars. I feel like that the really slow cars are going to be there. I accidentally pressed enter a little second too soon there, but as you can see, we've got 10-wheel cars. And that's kind of the fuzzy composer kind of in all of its glory there. And the great thing about making custom composers is you can really make a composer that kind of does exactly what you need it to do. As I kind of discussed with the options, you can either just customize this placeholder and let the user send a free-form message, or you can use the fuzzy composer to add as many options as you possibly think that you would like, and you can kind of go ahead and basically let them choose from a load of options, which is always a great, nice user experience. Kind of keeps things simple, lets them know, okay, these are the exact things I can pick, let's move them through the conversation. That kind of covers the vast amount of the different composer types. One thing I will also mention as well here is I'm currently in the different message composers section. As you can see here, we've got on the left, and then we've got composers. This is where I can kind of see all the different composer types. By default, message is the default composer. So that basically means as soon as you've, like, say, created it, you won't have to, and it basically will always let that by default fall on the message composer unless you change it. You can make any other default, so let's just make a different default one here. We'll call this one quirky brand composer, and rather than send a message, we're going to put ping me some words, boy. So this is, I don't particularly know what kind of brand that would be suitable for. If you do, let me know in the comments. I don't know if it ever will be, but yep. So this is our kind of our quirky brand replacement for the message composer, and I can just click make default here, and then that means that will always be the default message composer whenever I'm creating a new message, which is a nice way to add your own little branding in, kind of customize the platform. Of course, as well, I should also mention with the ubisend platform, pretty much like most of the platform, it's unlimited in use, kind of as much as you can get within reason. You can have as many custom composers as you want. We're not going to restrict you. There'll be no paid extras on. Oh, that's your 10th composer, upgrade your plan to add more. Absolutely none of that nonsense. You know what you need. We're just kind of giving you the toolbox to build exactly what you need. Let me just change this to message, make that the default again before I forget, otherwise I'll be doing future videos with that terrible composer in. I think I might actually just delete that one out. Not too keen on my copywriting skills there. Okay, so that kind of covers the different composer types. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. Do always as well feel free to head over to ubisend.com just to have a little bit more of a look. ubisend.com/features. That means you can dive into pretty much all of the features of the chatbot platform. There's loads of information on our website, and kind of read a little bit more about the features either I'll be covering even in past live streams or in future live streams. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all later. Goodbye.